Welcome back to On the Volley. I'm outside today, yeah. It's an absolutely fucking gorgeous day. First thing I want to do is say apologise to Mark Nugent. Mark, forgive me, my mate. Okay, I know the background noise it's not great for you, but I've been cooped up at home for the last 2 weeks. As you know, got a bit of health problems. Had to run around today. Organise some tests to get done next week, basically. So hopefully in the near future, I should have all my results and maybe, hopefully, fingers crossed, sort everything out so I can get back to fucking normal. I'm not used to being cooped up in a house for 2 weeks, you know what I mean? Every now and then I do go out, have a game of golf, okay, with the boys, and then I just come straight back home. But that's like once a week. So anyway, look, let's get back to it. I want to talk about that man, Ange today. Oh dear, what can I say? Ange, I saw his post-match review, yeah? I saw the highlights of the game. I had a few problems with the connection on the TV with my, smart stick or whatever you want to call it. So I didn't get to see the game. I had to watch the highlights. From what I saw, Chelsea dominated the first half, basically. Okay, right? The goal they scored, a header, the Chelsea player was fucking free, man. I mean, it was a free header for the boy, yeah? The marking was very poor on that. Excuse me. It's spring, so I suffer from hay fever. But they won 1-0. But Chelsea could have scored 2 or 3 goals, yeah? Excuse me, hold on. Bloody hell, if it carries on like this, I'm just going to have to stop. Maybe it wasn't the right idea to come out. Anyway, as I was saying, Jadon Sancho had an open goal, yeah? But he just skied it over. And then I can't remember, the Chelsea player took a shot. What a save by Vicaro. What a save, man, because that would have been a goal as well. Then they scored one, okay, to take them to 2-0, but it was rightly so offside. Now, Ange, obviously, he's rang a few changes. Papa Shah comes on, and Papa Shah scores a goal. What does Ange do? Which obviously got misinterpreted, I believe, or at least that's what Ange says. Basically, where's the noise? Okay, to the Spurs fans. Now, that has been interpreted as if to say, well, what have you got to say now, Spurs fans? But Ange did clear that up. He turned around and said, look, we've been going through a tough time in that game. We've equalised, we're on the ascendancy, okay, right? We're actually, playing better. We're getting on top of the game. We score an equaliser. And what he wanted was the noise from the Spurs fans. That's basically what his message was, okay? Which is why he says he cupped his hands. Yeah, you can look at it either way, okay, right? I tend to believe Ange, okay, because I think he's a very honest person, and I honestly believe that was his intention. But you look at the social media and all that, you look at the pundits, and the pundits are looking at it as if like it was a challenge from Ange to the Spurs fans, and it wasn't. The goal was disallowed by VAR. Okay, 50-50. Some people would have given it, some people wouldn't. I'm not going to go in and say, yeah, the referee was right, VAR was right, or it wasn't, okay? Like I said, I saw it on the replay. They showed one angle of it, and hey, I'm not an official, so take it as it is. At the end of the day, whatever we think, whatever I think, whatever Ange thinks, whatever the Spurs supporters thinks, doesn't really make any fucking difference, does it? Because the goal got cancelled anyway. And then you had an opportunity for Son. The ball gets crossed in, man. Son had to lunge at it, yeah, so he didn't get any power on it. He tried to direct the ball in, but obviously the keeper was equal to it. It was an easy save to make for the keeper, to be totally honest. Okay, he was in the right place, so he dived and saved it. So, you know, 1-0 to Chelsea. If you want to look at the positives for Ange and for Spurs, they did improve as the game went on. They only let in 1 goal at the end of the day. I tell you what, Mark, fucking birds. Okay, the noise is fucking with me as well. Do you know what I mean? So I hear you, bro. I hear you. Anyway, as I was saying, you know, so I suppose that is a positive to it, yeah. If you ask me my opinion, yeah, overall, and again, you go onto social media, you look at the comments, and everyone, a lot of people are saying, oh, Ange was saying, wait until I get all my players back, and then, you know, you'll see the change, so on and so forth. It's not as easy as that. I hear the complaint and the frustration of the Spurs fans, and I understand it, okay, so I'm not going to criticize them. But what I will say is this, it's, you know, they've gone through a tough season this season, yeah. Personally, I believe they're lacking a lot of confidence, yeah. So, and to get back into the rhythm of which they had, especially the rhythm of the first 10 games of last season, okay. Let's not forget they finished last season 5th, yeah. The season before they'd finished 8th, yeah. It's not going to be that easy. You're hearing the fact about, oh, you know, Daniel Levy and Spurs have invested heavily in Ange. Yeah, they have invested. I've said this. I said Daniel Levy has spent money. But I think what we need to do is look at, could that money have been invested better? Could they have bought players which maybe were more suited, if you like? I don't know. I don't know whether that's the right word. Let's not forget that Spurs do have a wage cap, yeah? And a lot of Spurs fans have complained about this because with their wage cap, they're only going to be able to arrive to a certain level of player. Other footballers, if they got a choice between earning 100 grand at Spurs or earning 150 grand or 200 grand, okay, a week at another team, please, where do you think they're going to go? They're going to go to the other team. Because let's not forget something else, yeah? Spurs ain't won fuck all in years, all right? And this is another point I want to make. You know, they're giving Ange a lot of grief. They're giving him a lot of grief. Rightly so, okay, rightly so, based on the performances. But I think, you know, they need to take into account, and I'm talking about a small group of Spurs fans, yeah. I don't know what the percentage is, whether it's 30% of the Spurs fans, 40%, 20%, I don't know. It could be 50% of the Spurs fans, I don't know. I haven't gone and fact-checked it. I don't even know if you can fact-check it. Do you know what I mean? I turn around and this is a question I ask. Where did the entitlement come from? Because let's make no mistake about it. I believe that these fans, okay, a small percentage of fans, whatever that percentage may be, need to be a little bit more humble. You know, I don't think they have any basis on which they can pretend or feel entitled to winning things or challenging. Because let's be honest, up until now, you know, it's been years since they won something. And I think the last thing they won was, what was it, the Carabao Cup? I can't even remember. I can't remember when it was, okay? I mean, I've said it on one of my other videos, but like, you know, my memory is shot, so, and I didn't bother to look out before I'd done this video. All I know, it's been a long, long while since they've won something. So they shouldn't be feeling so entitled. I think, you know, I understand, like I said, the frustration. And Ange is frustrated as well. You can see it in his post-match interviews as well. And one of the journalists asked him, okay, whether or not he was falling out. It seems that he was falling out of love with the game. And Ange turned around and said, you know, yeah, to a certain degree I am. And I don't blame him, because Ange basically said, he came out, he used to watch the English league, okay, religiously, when it was the first division. But before technology has ruined the game. It slowed the game down so much, okay? And even with VAR, sometimes the decisions which are taken with VAR are completely wrong, and we've seen it. And nowadays, you know, we've been through this season, last season, where nobody could explain what a handball was. So, you know, you take VAR and you've got one person in front of the monitor. You take VAR and you've got, in another game, and you've got another official in front of that monitor. It could be the two same situations, but with two different results. So, yeah, okay, you got technology, but it's still being managed, okay, by a human. You know, it's still being managed by a person. The decision is still being taken by a person. So the bottom line is, okay, yeah, we've got the technology to re-look at it, but then I suppose you had that on action replays. So what sense is there having VAR? Anyway, look, I could go on and on. Okay, I don't want to. The fact of the matter is, you know, people can complain, the Spurs fans can complain about their league position this season as much as they want, yeah? And yes, okay, maybe they were hoping for, you know, finishing in a position where at least they'll be playing in Europe next season, and that's fully understandable. That has to be the minimum target, minimum goal, which a team has, okay? And to be totally honest, I believe Spurs should have that as a minimum target. You know, I've spoken about entitlement, okay, but when I talk about entitlement, I'm talking about winning things, yeah? But for them and their fans, if they complain about the fact that they're not, you know, they're risking not being in Europe next season, I can understand that. And, you know, they've got all their eggs in one basket now, and all their eggs is on the Europa League, and they're playing next week. I think it's Wednesday. I can't remember. I think it's Wednesday. Is it Wednesday, Thursday? I don't know. They're playing next week, during the week anyway. And they're playing Eintracht Frankfurt. Now, the word on the grapevine is that Eintracht Frankfurt, okay, I just call them Frankfurt, are going to knock Spurs out the competition. And, you know, if you have to be realistic and you have to be objective, looking at how Spurs are playing at the moment, their confidence level or lack of confidence, then that is a very great probability. Me personally, I don't think so. I think they'll raise their game. It's all they've got left to play for. And I think they'll give it their all. I think they'll beat Eintracht Frankfurt and go through to the next round. And I think the next round, if and when they go through, will be against Lazio. Here. So, anyway, and I know everyone saying to me, oh, you know, you're just saying that because you love Ange, you know, you've got this fixation on Ange, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I love his style of football. I love how he thinks. I love the fact that he's honest. I love the fact that he says what he thinks, okay? And I love the fact that he turns around and says, you know, the fans have a right to complain. They have a right to voice their opinions. They're not happy, they have a right to, you know, voice it, because they pay their hard-earned money, okay, to follow this club, okay? And the day I'm gone, the fans will still be here. They'll be here forever. I won't be, okay? And you can't argue with that. And that is absolutely 100% correct. As you know, I've got a lot of friends that are Spurs supporters, so I do talk to them. I've said it before, okay? I may as well come out and say it now, yeah. For anyone that doesn't know, my brother supports Spurs, okay? And, you know, every now and then we'll have a chat about it. And I've said to him, I said, look, Ange has had serious problems this season. You know, he struggled. But if Spurs keep faith in him, he will bring them trophies. The thing is, though, yeah, the way, you know, the rumour, okay, at the moment, the speculation at the moment is that everything depends on whether or not Spurs win the Europa League. If Spurs don't win the Europa League, it looks as if Ange Postecoglou will not be at Spurs next season. To be totally honest, I don't think that's a bad thing for Ange Postecoglou. He'd feel very disappointed, because it'd be the one occasion, I believe, that he hasn't been able to deliver what he's promised, you know, achieve his objectives. He'll look at it as a failure. But then again, to be totally honest, I've always felt from day one when Ange chose to go to Spurs that it was a poison chalice. It was just, oh dear, it was just an impossible task. You know, you come into the English Premier League and your first job is Tottenham Hotspurs. When you look at a history, you look at the amount of managers they've gone through, you think to yourself, oh man, no. I mean, me personally, if I was a manager and I was in Ange's position at the time and Spurs come knocking at the door, I don't know what I would have done, to be totally honest. There was going to be two ways of looking at it, which I think is how Ange looked at it. The first one was, no, fuck this, man. Oh, no, that's a poison chalice, okay? It's an impossible task. You're talking about mission impossible. Even Tom Cruise couldn't fucking sort this out. Or you think to yourself, you know what? Fuck it. I love a challenge. Let me take it on. It'll be what it will be, but I will give it my best shot. Anyway, look, I don't have much more to say. I'm rooting for Ange. I am rooting for Ange. I want Ange to get to the Europa League Cup final. I'd love him to win it. And then, to be totally honest, I'd love him to turn around and say, right, I got you lot a fucking trophy. Didn't appreciate how I've been treated. I'm off. Anyway, me, Shah, I'm out.